Hello there, welcome. This is Sarai Jacobs, and today we're going to talk about leadership. As you see, I like to talk about it, and another great writer, another person that dedicated many years in studying leadership and writing about it is John Maxwell. And probably you've read something about him, or you've read his books. And he has many books talking about leadership. And today I just want to summarize a few points that I personally think that are super important when he talks about qualities that a leader should develop. And when you say qualities, you could say skills. You could also say aspects of your personality. So take it more like points that we could all work on and improve for ourselves, so that the end result is that we grow as people, as persons, and that we also trigger or inspire other people to do the same, which is at the end the best thing about leadership. So one point that I really like that he talks about is commitment. And commitment is such a huge word, right? Like the C word. And it can be very scary, by the way, but depending on how you think about it. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, commitment, I'm committing to something and I will never be able to, have another point of view or think differently. And I personally think that commitment is not about that. A commitment is more about being honest with ourselves. If we decided something, if we said, I want to pursue this, I want to achieve that, I want to become that. Commitment is, even if it's a good day or if it's a rainy day and you feel like totally unmotivated, sticking to little actions, thoughts, influences that will lead you or bring you closer to whatever goal you had. Because at the end of the day, no one has a perfect life. We all are human, so we bleed. And that means that we all go through good situations and not so good situations. But commitment makes a huge difference. Because if I'm really committed with myself and I really put value on whatever I want to achieve or whatever I want to, become, this commitment is the only thing that will give me this persistence, that I will be there every day. And actually persistence is a very important point, because it's not about making huge improvements every day, but at least staying there and like doing little steps. This is much more valuable than doing huge steps 3 days in a row and then being stuck for 4 days. It's better that you just do little steps, but towards the direction you want to go, and you persist in that, and you're continuously doing that, than doing a lot at once and then stopping completely. So commitment is a very important point, and I'm sure we all can improve that, all of it. Communication is another point, because if I'm not able to communicate with others in a way that they can understand me, or that I'm taking the time and allowing myself to see things from a different point of view, from a different perspective, to also understand others, that will be a huge problem, because we know that most things are misunderstandings that happen because of a lack of communication. If I had understood from the other person that that person wanted that, or if that person had understood from me that I was trying to do this, probably something that became a problem would have never happened from the beginning. So communication is a big thing to work on. I can really recommend you to understand what communication does, the power of communication, and if you feel that you can improve in that, do it. Because we all understand things in a different way. A same message can be understood in so many different ways, because it also depends on what part of the world were you born, or what part of the world did have a biggest influence in you, what culture, what are the paradigms in that culture. It's not the same maybe to think about a cow in Europe than to think about a cow in India, right? So that means that communication depends a lot of what what is happening around you, what has influences on you as a personality, how you understand things. And it's very important that if you're willing to work with other people, that you're also open to see other points of view, other perspectives, because that will allow you to understand them. And then it's easy to communicate with that other person. I like the part of courage. I think an entrepreneur, someone who really wants to develop leadership, needs a lot of courage, because you're facing the unknown. And I think that is the part that could be more scary for most of people. Like, I don't have a plan. I don't know what's going to happen, how it will happen. And this can be very, very scary for people who need things very planned. It can be very, for myself, it's this adventure of not knowing what's going to happen. To me, it's super motivating, but I know that other people need a clear structure. So courage means that even though you're scared, you decide to do that. And you don't know what's going to happen, right? But you decide to do that, whatever is needed to be done in that moment, or I don't know, to do that phone call, or to answer that email, or to take a decision that maybe you didn't want to take, because at the end that will bring you closer to your end result. And even though sometimes we prefer the comfort of being home on the sofa or not having to take decisions that might be difficult, we also know that this comfort zone will not take us where we really want to go. So courage is needed if you're someone who is an entrepreneur, or if you want to develop leadership, because it means that you're facing everything that is outside of this comfort zone, but that is really taking you to your goals. And I would say that courage and bravery, right? Depending on how you want to talk about it or how you want to express it, they go hand in hand and they're almost the same. And it's not that people who decide to be an entrepreneur are not scared. They are scared, like everyone else. But even if they feel scared, they decide to act. They decide to handle, because that's the only way to face that fear and also to achieve the result they're looking for, right? A very point that I personally think that is super important if you want to become a person that inspires others and that can trigger in others this thought of, hey, maybe I can achieve the things that I want for myself too, is generosity. And generosity doesn't have to do specifically with money. It has to do with willing to give your best, whatever you're good in, your time, your patience, whatever, for someone else with nothing in return. And of course, there will always be something in return. I believe it because I also have experiences like that. Whenever I do things just because I know that can help someone else and I don't expect anything in return, somehow life pays it back to me, and much more than I had given, right? And it doesn't have to be with the same person or in the same situation. It can be that it comes from another part. But being generous is super important. If we don't develop that, because I know that often we are taught to keep for ourselves whatever we have, right? Our sources and I don't know, the knowledge, and don't share what you know, because if other people know it too, then they have maybe the same results than you have, or they will have better results. This to me is so old. Honestly, don't do that. Don't follow that path, because so what? If others know what you know, isn't that amazing? Because maybe they can also share it with other people and more people can benefit from it. We don't own the knowledge. The knowledge doesn't belong to us, and knowledge is there to be shared. Experiences are there to be shared. If I don't share whatever I can learn in this life, what was it worth? If I take it with me, what was it worth? So it's important to be generous. And generous is something that has to do with willing to help others, willing to support others, willing to share with others, right? of course you have to have your own initiative. You have to be proactive, because if you don't make things happen, things will not fall from sky and just appear in front of you. You have to be there, and you have to get into action to make things happen. Don't wait for life bring it to you and just putting it in, I don't know, wrapping it up with a nice present paper, because that will not happen. That's a fantasy. Sorry, that's a fantasy. So you have to have your own initiative. You have to get into action, find the people that can help you work on these things that you want to achieve. I don't know, find inspiration in books, podcasts, videos like this one, or consulting, or having coaches, but get into action. Action is super important. There's no way to have a result if there was no action before, right? Listen to others, and that has to do with communication. It goes hand in hand, because if I don't listen to others, I don't know what their needs are, what they're lacking in, how I can help them, or what I can offer them, even as a service. If you don't listen to people, you will not know what their needs are. Positive attitude, this one, I love it. I'm all into it. I decided a long time ago that I am a happy person, because to me happiness is a decision. It's not an end result, it's a decision, and it's something that I carry with me no matter what, because amongst everything, at the end, I am the one deciding how I want to see life, and how I want to experience it, and how I want to face everything in life. So being a positive person is a decision that you make, how you want to see things, what is the learning you want to take out of that. I already said that many times, but I am a true believer that sometimes we win and sometimes we learn. There's no failing unless you don't really learn something out of that. Otherwise, it was a win too, because there are people paying a lot of money to get to college, to make masters, to have I don't know many degrees, to just get knowledge. And you might have that knowledge through an experience that you didn't have to pay for. So learning is super important. Another point that I really like about the list of qualities that Maxwell talks about is problem solving, and this is super important. People who make things happen, people who are good entrepreneurs, who are good business people, they're good in solving problems. And solving problems doesn't mean that you, I don't know, have to fix something in the house, but problem solving is taking decisions, right? Knowing what to do. If this happens now, okay, what can I do to solve it? Not postponing it, because if you postpone it, the problem gets bigger. It's like a monster that gets bigger and bigger, and then it will be super difficult to just kill that monster, right? But if you face the problem in the right moment, whenever it appears, and if you don't allow it to grow, that's the best thing you can do. And this is I would say it's a skill that is super important to develop if you decide to be the creator of your income. Because if you work for someone else, probably they are the ones deciding, and they are also the ones responsible for the result of their company. But if you are your own income creator, you have to be very good in problem solving, because we all face different problems, and this is something that happens to everyone. And in case you didn't know, everyone goes through the same things. I face many problems every day, but I learned how to quickly react to them and to solve them as soon as possible. And that is very important, because there are people who pay a lot of money for someone else to solve their problems, and it's fine. We can look for a service that can help us, but it's not good if we don't learn out of that. We have to learn how to train our mind in being fast and quick in finding a solution. And here, even though that John Maxwell is not saying that, I personally learned in my life experience that having a creative mind, working in creativity, to have a fast mind thinking for solutions is super important. And as you might know, our brain can only think in a positive way or in a negative at once. The brain can't think the two ways at the same time, right? So if you have a positive attitude, if you think positively, you will be creative. Your mind cannot be creative. You can't find solutions if you are in a negative environment or with negative thoughts. You have to get out of that. You have to break that cycle and get into positive thoughts in order to be creative and to find solutions. And being creative means problem solving. Responsibility, and this has to do a lot with commitment, being responsible for the things that you want to achieve, and being responsible with the people surrounding you, taking things serious, right? So especially if you work with people, if you have an influence on people, that is very important. You have to be very responsible with that. You're not here to influence negative. You're here to share whatever you can to maybe have a positive impact on someone else. And that is a huge responsibility, a huge one, honestly. Self-discipline. He talks about self-discipline, and that is a point that I know for myself that is very important and not easy, but it is super important, because self-discipline then leads to prioritizing, waking up early, being proactive. I mean, self-discipline is present in so many different other skills or so many different other aspects. It's also present in commitment, because if you don't have this discipline of saying, no, I'm sticking to that, I wanted to achieve this, so I'm sticking to it, and it doesn't matter how hard it is today. Maybe tomorrow it's a little bit easier, but even if it's hard today, I'm sticking to my decision and I'm walking towards that. Have you ever experienced that you started a diet and the first days are so difficult that you just want to give up? That is a super good example for a commitment, because if you manage to go through this first period that is difficult, where your body doesn't want to do that, the body doesn't want to have less sugar, or the body doesn't want to have less carbs, right? And the body's asking for it, it makes it very difficult. But if you go through that period, if you manage to go through it and stick to it, at some point it's super easy to follow then the diet. Or the same happens if you decide to go to the gym and every day, I don't know, do 30 minutes sport or cardio or whatever. At the beginning it will be super hard, and at some point that disappears because it became a habit, right? And self-discipline is present in all of these aspects. And last but not least, one point that I really like about what John Maxwell says, or any other expert in leadership, is vision. I'm a true believer that, and it's not easy, I know that, because it took me some while, but if we really take time to feel rather than to think, because it has to be with your feelings, to feel what is important for us. Why are we willing to leave our comfort zone? What is the truth behind that result that we're looking for? What is behind that? What is really behind that? What is the emotion? Why are we willing to do all of these things? Usually that is our purpose. So if we really invest some time in getting into our thoughts and into our feelings, and really finding out why we want to do this, what is so important to us, what would we like to I don't know, start or promote or help with before our life ends, right? What is important to us that we would really be super sad if the day that our life ends we couldn't achieve that, or we couldn't do that, or we didn't start it. If we find that out, that has to do with our purpose. And the vision has to do with our purpose too. So it's not only about, I don't know, being an amazing entrepreneur. It's about what can you do with being an amazing entrepreneur? what does that, or having, I don't know, a car, okay, but what does that car give you? So what is behind that? Do you want to see the world maybe with a car? You want to travel around and I don't know, get to know different cultures because you want people to get connected, and you want to talk about that and create these bonds within different cultures. What is it that you're really aiming for? And your vision should be super clear, because if you don't have that, facing difficult times can be devastating. But facing difficult times with a clear vision and a clear purpose makes things so much easier, because you know why you're doing it. You know why you're willing to step out of your comfort zone, why you're willing to receive a lot of rejection, because it's because of something bigger. There's something bigger that you really want to achieve. I hope that these qualities that I mentioned today could help you maybe think of what you can work on, or what you're super good in and what you can share with others. And I'm really excited about your comments. I want to know what you think that is also very important for a leader, or to develop good leadership. And I hope to talk to you soon. Mwah! Bye.